Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Alejandro Perez, the CGI nerd, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at how to create these rock structures. The rock formations were created in Houdini using procedural methods, so I pretty much just created one pillar and then because it built it with a procedural methodology behind it, I can randomize some values and then instance them onto points on a surface and then create a huge variety that are a lot of different rock formations that are all each unique. So, if you guys are interested in continuing on and learning on how to create these rock formations inside of Houdini using procedural modeling techniques, let's move on and let's get started. Okay, to start off, we are going to create a geometry node. And let's call this our rock formation. Okay, inside of rock formation, let's create a tube. And this is going to be our basic rock formation that we're going to be working with. So I'm going to switch it over to polygons. I'm going to turn on the end caps so that way we have a top and a bottom. And oops, the height, can adjust the height. And then I want to make sure that this object always stays on the ground. So as I increase the height here, we can see that it is going off from the center, but I want to adjust that. So what I'm going to do is copy this parameter, go into the center here in the Y because the Y is our vertical axis, paste relative reference. And I'm going to divide it by 2 because I don't want to do the whole height because we know it's half of it that we need to bring it up. So there. And then now you'll see if I adjust the height, it's actually going to be going up and down like that. So I don't know, let's set this up to be like, is 8 enough? Yeah, let's do something like that. And then let's add more rows. I'm going to try them to get them pretty square. And then from here, I'm just going to immediately subdivide. So that way we can see a higher resolution version of what we're working with. We can increase the depth. So this has a ton of polygons in here, but that is okay. Because we're going to need that to be able to deform this object. Going to go here and let's do a point VOP. So in the point VOP is how we're going to be controlling the rock formation shapes that we're creating it. We're basically going to be using a noise and then manipulating that to displace the points from where they're at right now. So let's do unified noise. And let's connect the P, so that's your point data, into the position. And then I'm going to put the noise right now into the color, just so that we can see what the color is looking like. So if we were to take the P directly over here, you'll see that we have a kind of spectrum of color that you're working with. So that's basically translating the value of each point into like X, Y, and Z being our G and B. So we're taking that point data that we would have here, and we are adding noise to it based off of the algorithm that we're looking at here. So let's push Y to cut that, and then reconnect the noise here to the color. And we end up here. So we're going from a 3D input, and then we're adding a 1D noise. Right now it's on simplex, and that is okay, but I'm going to actually change it to this. This kind of gives me a little bit more of a rock shape that I like. And with the rocks, I want them to be kind of like big rocks stacked on top of each other. So, what we can do is maybe along the Z and the X, stretch these out. So that's ending up 1, 1. Let's see this one. There we go. Let's put this at 10. And then let's decrease this. I increased it instead, but what I wanted to do was actually decrease it. And then this one here, let's adjust this value. Let's put it maybe at 1. We want to find out kind of like about where we get kind of the size rocks, approximate size rocks that we want. Something that we can do is do a fit range. And what the fit range lets you do is adjust what the white and black levels start and end at. So if I were to kind of bump this and bring this way, and basically anything that is white is sticking out and anything that's black is sticking in. So I want to try to get it to a point where I have some rock looking shapes. Okay, and then let's go back to the noise here. Let's also try changing it. Instead of F1, we'll do F2, F1. That's looking a little bit better. Okay, and then here, let's see if we boo like 0.5, we get some shifts like this. Okay, I like that. Now, we've been looking at this like if it was more of a texture so that we can see the shapes that we got there. But what we can also do is change this to be displacement. So we want to do displace along normals. So we're going to connect this here into a mount and then connect the displace points into the P. And then we can adjust the scale to be whatever we needed. So that looks a little bit better. Then we can play around with this noise, maybe 0.1 and 0.1. And then adjust the fit range. Because I don't want it to be so extreme. I want a little bit, but not like a lot. Okay, and then maybe in the displace, let's increase this. And come back to the noise. Let's check this out to be, I don't know, 0.3, 0.3, maybe 0.2. Oops. And 0.2. And then come back over here. I don't need a big gap, I just need a small gap like that. And I'm still not quite liking that, although it's getting close for the rock formations that I want. I do want it to be wider. This will just adjust the kind of spacing here. I didn't mean to go that high. But I like this. This is kind of nice. And then let's put this 0.15 and 0.15. Let's say that's starting to get a little bit closer. Right now I'm seeing all of the individual faces. So I want to switch over to smooth shaded, make it a little bit easier to work with. Great. Okay, I'm going to start off with this and see if it's okay. And then we'll come back if I need to make some more adjustments. So let's go to the rock formations. And above this point VOP, I'm going to add a bend. Because right now it's like a perfect tube going straight up and down, but I want to adjust that a little bit. So what I can do is do the capture direction. I want it to be up in the positive Y. So if I visualize this, let me turn on the bend and you can kind of see what's happening right now. It's going to try to do this. But if we do the capture direction in the positive direction in the Y, and we adjust that, you can see that that kind of works. But the problem is that it's bending a little bit too short. I want it to be able to bend all the way through to the top. So I need to know how tall this tube is. Let's copy the height. We're going to copy parameter, and then go to the pen, the bend, and then down at the bottom, capture length. Gonna highlight that, delete it, right click, paste relative reference. So that way the it will always match the height of the tube. So now you'll see that you get a pretty smooth bend when we bend it. But we're going to use the bend not for its bend attribute, but we want to taper it so it kind of comes smaller to the top. And then we also want to length scale. No, that's not what I want. Oh, squish right here. So we can actually kind of squish it maybe a little bit in the center, something like that. Yeah, do something like that. And let's look at the final output. You can kind of see it looks a little bit more like rocks stacking up on top of each other. And with this noise, if we go back into the point VOP, we can always go into the noise and there's an offset value. So if we want to look at options of what this can kind of look like, you can go through and play with different settings and see if you find something else you like that is better. So let's say we liked this one. We can stick with that. Now let's adjust the color a little bit so it's more rock-like. Let's go in and do I got caps locks on, sorry. Parameter, actually ramp. It's a ramp parameter. So I'm going to click on that and bring it here where it's connected to the color. So that will change how this looks here. In order to modify it, let's go up to the rock formation here. Click on the point VOP, and then we have these two colors. So on the white, let's get it kind of like a rock color. I want it to be a little bit more red in it. redness. Maybe a little bit too much red. So let's say we have a color kind of like that. Then I can close out of this, and then let's go adjust the black. And I don't want it to go completely to black, so let's start off with the brown and kind of adjust that. I don't want it as saturated, so let's do that, but I do want it darker. Maybe something like that. And then what I can also do is kind of adjust the influence of where this is happening. So that way it's more along kind of just the edges. So there's a little bit where it's stretching here. We could experiment with subdividing it. It could be that there's not enough polygons there. Let's bump it up to like 8 and see if that resolves a little bit here. Still calculating. So it's still smooth there. So what I can do is just go back into the point VOP. And let's go into this fit range here. And let's make this a little bit sharper. So if I bring this closer to the minimum, it should make that sharper. Sorry about that. Now we can go back and play with the rock formations and see if we want to adjust this at all here with the color. Can also kind of get it a little bit closer. And just so that it is almost like an ambient occlusion, something like that. Oops. I don't need an extra point, I just need that other one to move over. There, I'm actually liking that quite a bit. Okay, so what we can do after this is add another point VOP. And we're going to do a similar effect here. I'm going to do a unified noise. Connect this down into the position. So we got the point. Point vector, and it goes into there. Let's put it onto the noise, into the color, just so we can see. It overrides everything. I'm going to switch it from simplex to kind of whirly. I like that. I'm not going to add color on this stage. I'm going to go and add a displace along normals and connect it into the point. The mount is too high. Let's put it at like 0.1. Now it's too low. And just play with this a little bit so that we get a little bit more kind of rock-like features. Okay, so I like that quite a bit. Now, see if I can adjust this a tiny bit. So it's a lot of kind of going back and forth and seeing how it looks because this is more of an organic shape. I am liking that. Okay. So let's add a merge here. And let's add a grid. And let's make this grid bigger. Much bigger. Extend this out. It's gonna take a second. There we go. Let's look at the subdivide. Let's bring this down to 6 because it's working a little bit slower. That might help it a little bit, but that looks pretty good. So these nodes up here, if I were to put a subnet on it, we can see that these are going to be just your basic shape that you're creating for your rock structure here. Then this part here is our, so let me select these, put a box here. What are they called? Network boxes. And what we're going to do is call this proc rocks. And then here we're just going to merge stuff into it. Something that we might want to try is like a mountain node. And obviously that is too strong, but we can bring this down to like 0.1, 0.2, and just give it a little bit more of a rock feeling. Let me go back into object mode. Oh, because we have everything selected. I'm just going to select that and then see if I can. Nope. There we go. Let's actually create a camera right now. So let's go back to the object level, create a camera. I'm going to throw it into the scene. Let's switch over to that camera. Oops. Gotta go to camera, lock it. Then we can see this a little bit better. So I have this kind of like clay rock look, but if you wanted it to be more like stone, we can actually go in and in the point fob where we have the color, let's change these. Gonna be kind of more like a cool blue, but desaturate it, make it darker. Something kind of like that. And then close this out and bring this back in. And then I'm going to do the same thing where I got the blue, desaturate it, but this one's going to be darker. Okay, so let's look, that's kind of like the look that we're getting here. from this stage here, looks a little bit weird. Once we go into it, it's fine. And just having a graphics card issue, I think. Yeah. There we go. So that looks pretty good. So we can create a whole bunch of different shapes with this and kind of make this a little bit more procedural if we wanted to. We can also add some, if we wanted to be able to, well, there's a few ways we can go. We can individually like create this and copy them over so that way we have them and then have a little bit of sliders so that we can adjust it. And I think for the basics, that's what I'm going to do, but we can also add like a switch node in here and then have several different shapes that we're connecting into it, which will create different versions that we can put some scattered points on here and then instance them automatically. But I want to do it a little bit more with control for this one. In the grid, let's add more rows. And then let's add a mountain node to it. And then I also want to turn off the grid. Okay, just so that we have something that is not very flat. And then height, let's put it a bit lower. There you go. So that should be better for us. Okay, so now we have this. Let's make a set of tools here that we can adjust it. So let's do a null node. And I am going to say, here we have the height. That might be something we want to adjust. So let's call this null node controls. And then we can go here, edit parameter interface with these. I want them invisible. That's what I want, because I don't need access to them. I just want to create my own controls. So let's create a floating point. You can throw it in there. And this is going to be our height. Okay, and I'm not going to set any. You can set minimums and maximums in the range here and defaults. So this would be the default value, but I'm not going to do that. Let's do accept. And I have the height here. So what we could do is, actually I probably do want to set a default. Right now I have it at 8. So let's put it here. And then let's go to parameter interface. And here, let's select this. This is going to be our height. Put a capital H here. There you go, it's a floating point. Let's go to channels and let's set this to 8 for the default. Accept. So that way we just have this. Let's copy parameter and then go to the height here. Paste relative reference. Okay. So now if I go back here, I can adjust the value here, and we can see that it actually does adjust the value of the rocks. Okay, so now that I have that, I can also do width. So let's go back to the parameter interface. The width is also going to be a floating point. And I'll have to see what the default needs to be for that. But let's do width and width. There we go. And let's just add a few more. Let's do taper. Taper. Squish. Squish. And I just want to keep that lowercase. It doesn't really matter for it actually working, but it's just keeping with the convention. Okay, and then maybe we can have another value for our rocks height. Okay. And we could do width if we wanted to. So let's do rock width. And let's fix this one. I'm gonna do rock height, and this is what we're gonna actually see on the interface. So I'm gonna make it a little bit more acceptable. So I'm gonna click accept. We have all those properties there. So this one, the width, is going to be driving the radius here. Or I can actually do the scale radius. So that's what I'm going to do. That way it's only one value. And it is at 1. So let's go back into the parameter interface. And in width, channels, the default's going to be 1. And then we can copy parameters. And paste relative reference. So now we can adjust the width here. And it should adjust the width of our column. Okay, then the taper is within the bend. So the taper is set to, let's just put it maybe 0.6. So it's an easy round number to work with. And then we can go to edit parameter interface, taper 0.6, accept, copy parameter, go into here, paste relative reference. Okay, so now we should be able to adjust this, and it should adjust the whole thing. Okay, then we have the squish, so let's look in the bend. Squish, let's put it at 0.85. Over here, we can set that default. The parameter interface, squish, 0.85, accept, and then this one here, let's copy parameter, go back into the bend, paste relative reference. There we go. So now we should do 0.1. It gets kind of thin at the center, and 0.5. 10. Be really fat in the center. What was it, 0.85? I kind of like it with the skinnier center, so I'm going to do that. Okay. Now we have the right rock height. So that's controlled here inside of this value in the noise. The frequency on the y direction. So it's at 0.8. Let's go back over here. Edit parameter interface, rock height, 0.8, accept. Then copy parameter, then jump back into that VOP. And we need to be in the noise. And in here, we're going to paste relative reference. So we can go back over here to our control and adjust this. So if we went to 0.1, we should see that we get bigger rocks. We only have 2 basically. 0.3, we should have more. Yeah, 3. We bring it all the way up to higher. Oops. Here, 3. We can get a lot of little rocks. So this is pretty useful. I think it was at 0.8. That looks about right. Okay. So now the width. Let's look inside of that point VOP also. And we have these values. It's 0.15 basically. So I'm going to go here, update that. And 0.15. Accept. Now I can go in and go to, wait, before I go in there, let's go over here, copy parameter. Then we're going to paste relative reference here and here. Oops, too far out. There we go. So we can test this. 0.01. We should see maybe. Oh, yeah. Well, the lower it gets, the more separated they're going to be. So there's no in-between rocks. But we can also do 0.5, and we should see more kind of in-between rocks. Okay, and it was at 0.15. We have a pretty good result there. And one more attribute that I actually want to adjust is the seed. So let's create a seed value. It's going to be a float also. Let's call it seed, seed. And um, the seed really doesn't matter what it is. I'll start it off at 0. Accept. And then we're going to copy parameter. This time it's going to change a little bit, but we can put it back to 10. We're going to do that to the offset. So paste relative reference. Paste relative reference. Paste relative reference. And paste relative reference. Okay, so now we have that there, and if we wanted to get it back to the same rock formation that we had a moment ago, the seed was 10, so it'll take a little bit to update that, but we have that there. Okay, so this gives us a wide range of control for this rock formation that we're creating here. If we wanted to, let's scatter some of these here. So I'm going to do scatter. So I have a whole bunch of points there. And I have this scatter points, which I'm going to use. Let's do a copy stamp. So the copy stamp, we need a primitive to do, and then a set of points. This might be a lot. Let me escape. I didn't look at how many points I had. It might crash my computer. I hope it doesn't. I'm pushing escape. I'm pushing escape. Okay, let me pause and I'll try to recover this. See how long it takes. Give me a moment. Okay, I rebuilt everything and we can see the settings that I'm using here. Everything should be pretty much the same here on the grid. I did have 500. I brought that down to 100 instead, just because it was a really big already. And then I have the copy stamp here. By default, this is at 1,000. So let's not blow up the computer this time. Let's just create 10 of them to start off with, and then we'll create the points there. And visualize this. So we can see that we have 10 different things. I'm going to switch over to my camera, lock it, and then we'll see. There we go. So we have 10 different versions of that rock formation. So let's go here, maybe 20 by 20, just so that the way they're kind of closer and we can see them. Okay, so I have all these rock formations, and I have a copy stamp node. Let's disconnect this geometry. I'm going to push Y and then drag across to connect it or disconnect it from the merge, and then I'm going to connect the copy stamp instead. So now we'll see this going on. And in the scatter, we can change the seed value to get different layouts of these. So this is pretty cool, but I want to be able to get different variations automatically. So what we can do is drive some of these values here with the copy stamp node. So what I want to do is turn off transform cumulative, and then here in the stamp I'm gonna do variable, for example, height. And then here, we're going to do a fit 0, 1. And then the first number is going to be a random value. Rand $, PT. So it's going to take the point number that the object is seated onto. And we can do comma. Then the next number that we're going to be needing in the fit range is the starting value. So for the height, let's say we want a low value of 5 and then a high value of 10. And we can close that out. So we have a random point number, then the minimum and the maximum. Okay, so I'll give us a random height, and then let's go here, and let's do stamp, and then string, so we need to open up string, dot slash, is it dot or slash? I need the node, so let's try. Oh, I need to open up quotes, sorry. Quotes, dot slash. There we go. So we can see that we are getting something. So let me just connect this onto there. Dot slash. There we go, 1 slash. And I don't think I actually need the connection there. So see, it's copy 1. And then it's going to be, I believe it's height. And then we can do a default value. So we can do comma 0.8 in case it doesn't work. And then close parentheses, and let's run this. And let's, okay, so we're getting an error from this. Oh, height. Let's try that now. So we are getting an error. Let's see if we can fix this really quick. Let's look at the fit range. I want to make sure that I have. So let's just put. Okay, I think I need to put an extra parentheses around here. There we go. Okay, so that way is this whole rand is 1 value. There we need 2 parentheses to be able to encapsulate it all. But it does look like it is still having a little bit of issues. We should get a default value. Let's see if I connect it over here now. Okay. Let's see if we go all the way to the copy stamp. Why is my copy stamp not working? Let's try looking at here. Let's make sure that the name of the copy stamp, height, okay, that's why. I need the node first. So it is this node here. Then the variable, which is height. Then the default value. Then we can close this. There we go. And I'm supposed to have 0.8. I think I put really large numbers. Oops. Let's check this out. And yeah, so let's do 0.5 up to 1. Let's see if we put the thing here. We're seeing it without any issues. We are getting them all being a little squashed, and we'll fix that now. We need stamp inputs. That's going through and calculating everything. Okay, and then let me fix this camera. I don't know why that happened, but we can fix it. View, and then far clip plane. Just gonna add several zeros there. That will make it so that we can see everything. Okay, so the height should be set now. Width, we're at 1. So if we change this, okay, it is because I did the wrong value. It shouldn't be 0.8. That was my bad. Let's do it from 5 to 10. There we go. So we have different heights. Let's do 5 to 10. I did 8 to 10, so there was less variation than I was hoping for. There we go. So now we have some more variation, and then can try maybe like 3 to 10. And then if we wanted to seed this value, we can do something like multiplying this by 3, for example, and then that will give us a different seed value. And we can change this to be whatever, and it should give us a different result. Let's not do it from the outside, but inside of here. Times 5. There we go. So now we have a different seed, and let's change this value. Let's say 3. We get a different result. 900. It really doesn't matter what we put in there. It's just changing the point number, which will change the random. Great. Okay, so now we can repeat this process for the other attributes. Let's do this so that way we get a little bit clearer. So I'm going to do width here it's a fit 01, and then open parentheses. The first value is a random value based off of the point number, and then let's multiply it by a number there, close it off, and let's say the width, we're going to go from 0.5 to 2, and close that. Just going to take a moment to update everything. Okay, there we go. Then we can go to the channel here, stamp. The first thing we need is the copy node. Copy 1. And then close parentheses, comma. Then we're doing the width value. Let me make sure that we're using the same type of quotes. There we go. And then the default value was 1. Okay. So now it is updating, and then we have a different thickness in here. There we go, and that gives us quite a bit of variety. We can do the taper and squish. So I'm gonna add taper fit 01 rand $PT. Let's multiply this one by 99, comma, and then we will do it from 0.1 to, let's say, 2. And if we don't like the result, we can always change this. Okay. Now let's go over here. Copy, or I don't need a copy parameter. Let's just copy this here. Paste it. The default value is going to be 0.3, and instead of width, it's going to be taper. Okay, then it'll take a few moments here to calculate all that, and that's good. That gives us different results. I do like the bigger ones, but maybe the bigger is a little bit too big. Let's try 1.5. See how that updates. Just to 1. I think I like that better, just going straight up to 1. Let's do squash. I'm just going to copy all of this. And let's do a different seed value there. Squash. And then let's go back up here. Let's actually just put this closer so that way I don't have to zoom in and out. Okay. Copy this, paste 0.4 for the value, and then this is squash, SQU. There we go. And I do like them kind of coming in the center. So I'm going to change these values, and maybe instead of the highest being 1, we'll do 0.5. Okay, I'm still. And then I like that. Now I have the squash. Do I want to adjust the rock height? I think I will, but I won't do the rock width for this example. So let's copy this. And let's put a different seed value. 101. There we go. Then we're going to do our height for rock height. Come back here. Copy this. Our height. And this won't give us the results we want because I didn't adjust the properties in the fit range. Because it was 0.8. Let's not let it go all the way down to 0.1. Let's say down from 0.5 all the way up to 3. Eight. Let's do like, if I put the frequency really high, we should see that it gets something that looks more like plates stacked, but I am not seeing that. So let's check this one. Our height, there we go, I misspelt it. Now we should see some changes. There we go, so we got a lot more, that makes sense. 0.8. And then here in the copy, let's adjust this. We'll go from 0.1 to 1, and let's see if that looks better, because obviously I don't want this many rocks stacked on top of each other. So the 0.1 is going to be too low. Let's try 0.5 for the style that I'm going for at least, but it might look good for you. This one right here, for example, I just want some more in there. Okay, I like that a lot more. Okay, so what we can do now is, let's bring the grid up, let's say 50 by 50. And then, yeah. Do something like that, and then force the total point count. Let's say to 100. This will take 10 times as long, so before I do that, let's save the project so that way I don't lose it. but I think 100 would be something that is reasonable for my computer to do. So you can see how quickly they're going down here. Starting, I will go through, so I'll pause it. It's going to take a little bit, but you just wait for this number to get to 100 and then you'll be all set. So let's do that. Okay, so we're back here and we can see we got quite a bit of rock formations here, wide variety of them. I do like it, just a little bit too many. I don't know, I'm going to play around with some numbers. I could also maybe scale the grid up and then keep the same numbers so that way it just looks like they're further apart. I might end up doing that, but I'm going to experiment for a moment and then I will come back and show you the result. I'll add some cameras and add a little bit of light and then do a quick render. But I'll show you the final result. All you got to do is basically, if you want them to spread across more area, adjust the size. And then if you want more or less of them, go into the scatter node. And in the force total count, you can adjust it there. All right, I'll be right back in a moment. Okay, so here is the render that I got out. Just a quick render with a skylight. So let's go to the object level. I created a environment light. It has a skylight. I have in here render light geometry, so that way we see the sky. I added a color in the for the ground, just so that way we gave it a little bit of color. On the camera, I turned on the adjusted the depth of field. So if we go to the scene view, you can see if you right click on the camera, you can go to focus handle and then just kind of adjust it where I want the depth of field to be at. And then on the geometry itself, here I have a grid. It's 100 by 100, and the scatter is 50 points, just so that it would have worked faster. And then I kind of adjusted the camera to be in a composition that I liked. Can probably like push this over a little bit more. But I wasn't in the camera. I need to lock the camera and kind of choose the angle that I like. And then from there, created a mantra node in the out. Had the mantra here. Went in to rendering and enabled depth of field. And then just rendered to in play. And I have that result. Something that you might want to do that will add a little bit is making sure that the background isn't perfectly flat. Maybe adding some kind of mountain details and things like that would be pretty good. Also, maybe just scattering individual rocks, so you can use kind of the same method that we created for the rock here. But instead of adding these kind of like layers, just create a box or a sphere and do like small rocks that are scattered around that will be able to allow you to have like individual rocks, because obviously if you're going to have all these rocks here, you're going to have some sort of rocks that are just scattered around. And then also, if you would like, let me save this before I go in and experiment too much. So it's saving everything now. Take a few seconds. Okay, there we go. So go back to the object level, geometry. I am going to for this, oops, I'm gonna do Y to cut this, and I'm just gonna go directly there so that we can see the original shape. And something else that we can do is experiment with the basic shape. So if you wanted to, you can do something like you can really create any shape. And have a, so I have a torus here. Let's rotate it 90 degrees in the X. There we go. Adjust the radius up. Let's create a box. And then let's create a Boolean. Connect that there, connect this here. Display that there, and then let's adjust the size of this box. Then bring it down. Let's do this like 5, and then negative 2.5. There we go. So we have something kind of like that, and then we can connect it straight into that. And you can make some adjustments and whatnot, but if we look at the end result, and that's because I have under control a lot of this stuff connected. So let's just delete these really quick, because not everything is connected the way it was before, and I don't have the stamp, the copy stamp connected. So I'm just going to go through and delete all these channels. And then oh, it's because I don't have the subdivide, so let's copy this, and we'll put it right there. There we go. So then you have a rock formation that's in a different shape. So you can bring in whatever models you want. If you want to art direct your shots more, you can do that. And then create variations. And if you wanted to switch between the two, you can do a switch node. So if you wanted some arcs and some of this or some of whatever else when you're doing the copy stamp, all you have to do is do a copy stamp here, and you'll see that you can switch back and forth between models. So if you wanted to, you can have like another one that is a sphere. And then you can have a random value, 0, 1, or 2. And then let's change this sphere, make it bigger. And then let's make it a polygon mesh, and also subdivide it. There we go. So you can create pretty much any object that you want, and then, like I said, in the switch node, just do a copy stamp that lets you switch between them, and then that will randomly place them within the scene as well. All right. So that is it for this lesson. We'll see you guys in the next one. Enjoy.